At 3 a.m., my greedy sister stole my business credit card and phone, draining $60,000 before flying to Italy with my parents for a luxury vacation. They laughed, flaunting my money online. A text followed. "Thanks for the credit card." I smiled, typed one email, and waited. An hour later, their dream vacation turned into a nightmare. I never thought betrayal would come from the very people I spent my entire life taking care of. If someone had told me years ago that my own blood would turn against me for money, I would have laughed in their face. But here I am, sitting in the middle of the mess they created, looking back at the moment everything started falling apart. For years, I had worked tirelessly to build my business from the ground up. I wasn't handed anything in life. I earned every single dollar through long hours, sleepless nights, and sacrifices. I built a name for myself in the business world, expanding my brand and making sure I secured a future where I would never have to struggle again. But despite my success, I never turned my back on my family. My elder sister, Olivia, had never been the responsible type. At 38, she had no job, no ambition, and no sense of accountability. Still, I made sure she was taken care of. I sent her $4,000 every month so she could live comfortably without having to worry about rent or expenses. My parents, David and Margaret, weren't struggling either, but I still sent them money out of love and respect. After all, they were my family. I believed in taking care of them. But greed is a strange thing. No matter how much you give, some people will always want more. It started one evening when Olivia called me. I could tell by her tone that she wasn't just calling to check in. "Luna, we need to talk," she said firmly. I sighed, already exhausted from a long day at work. "What is it, Olivia?" She hesitated for a moment before saying, "I need more money. $4,000 a month isn't enough. I want $5,000 extra. That's not too much for you, is it?" I almost laughed. "You want $9,000 a month to do nothing? Olivia, I already give you more than enough. I have bills, business expenses, and my own life to take care of." "You're rich, Luna," she snapped. "You have everything. What's a few extra thousand for your own sister?" I pinched the bridge of my nose. "It's not about the money, Olivia. It's about the principle. You're not even trying to do anything for yourself." She scoffed, and I could hear my mother's voice in the background. "You should be grateful, Olivia. If she were a real sister, she wouldn't think twice." I felt a sharp sting in my chest. I had done nothing but support them, and yet they made me feel like a villain for setting boundaries. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice firm, "but I'm not giving you any more money. I've done enough." Olivia didn't argue. She just went silent for a few seconds before saying, "Fine." Then she hung up. I didn't think much of it at the time. I assumed she was just upset and would get over it in a day or two. But I had no idea that phone call was the beginning of something much worse. That night, I went to bed early, feeling drained from the argument. I had no idea that while I was sleeping peacefully in my own home, my sister and my parents were plotting against me. At some point in the middle of the night, they broke into my room. Olivia took my phone from the nightstand while my parents rummaged through my office, stealing my business credit cards. They worked quickly and quietly, knowing exactly what they were looking for. They weren't just stealing from me. They were emptying my hard-earned money for their own greed. They transferred $60,000 from my account to Olivia's, covering their tracks as best they could before disappearing into the night. And then, as if that wasn't enough, they booked themselves a luxurious vacation to Italy. I had no idea any of this had happened. I slept through it all, completely unaware that my own family had stabbed me in the back. The next morning, I woke up later than usual, my head pounding. Maybe it was the stress of the argument the night before, but I felt heavier than usual, sluggish and uneasy. I reached for my phone, but it wasn't there. I frowned, sitting up and checking my nightstand. Nothing. That's when my landline rang. "Luna Carter?" A professional voice said on the other end. "Yes, who is this?" I asked, rubbing my temples. "This is Alex from First National Bank. We're calling regarding several large transactions made from your business account overnight." My stomach dropped. "What transactions?" "Multiple transfers were made. totaling $60,000, the banker explained. We noticed that they were directed to an account under the name Olivia Carter. We wanted to confirm if these were authorized. I felt my entire body go numb.
No.
No, I did not authorize any of that. The banker hesitated. Would you like us to freeze your accounts?
Yes.
Do it now. I snapped, panic flooding my veins. I hung up and rushed to my office, searching for my business credit cards. They were gone. Then I realized something worse. My phone was missing too. A creeping sense of horror crawled up my spine. My own family. Olivia, my parents, they wouldn't.
Would they?
I ran to my laptop, my hand shaking as I logged into Instagram. And there it was. The ultimate betrayal, displayed for the world to see. Olivia, wearing expensive sunglasses, holding up a glass of champagne in a high-end restaurant. The caption read, "Italy, baby. Living the good life. Thanks for the upgrade, Luna." My breath caught in my throat. I scrolled down, seeing pictures of my parents at a luxury boutique, smiling like they had won the lottery. Expensive hotels, fine dining, shopping sprees, it was all there.
They didn't just steal from me. They were celebrating it.
Then, as if to twist the knife deeper, a text message popped up on my laptop screen. "Olivia, thanks for the credit card, sis. Wish you were here." Not really. I felt rage boil inside me. They thought they could do this to me and walk away without consequences? They thought I was weak. They had no idea who they were messing with. I took a deep breath, my jaw tightening as I grabbed my landline phone. First, I called my lawyer. Then I called the police. I wasn't just going to get my money back. I was going to make them pay. And this time, there would be no second chances. I sat there, my fingers gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. My heart was pounding, my breath uneven, but my mind had never been clearer. They thought they could get away with this. They thought I would sit back and let them enjoy the fruits of my hard work while I suffered in silence. They were wrong. The first call I made was to my lawyer, James Wright. He answered on the second ring, his voice calm and steady, just as I needed it to be. "Luna, what's wrong?" he asked, immediately sensing the urgency. "They stole from me, James," I said, my voice cold. "Olivia and my parents. They took my business credit cards, my phone, and transferred $60,000 to Olivia's account. They're in Italy right now, spending my money, flaunting it on social media like it's a game." There was a pause, then a low sigh. "That's serious. Do you have proof?" I nearly laughed at the absurdity of the question. "Oh, I have more than enough. Bank records, missing cards, and their Instagram posts basically confessing to the crime. Olivia even texted me, thanking me for my gift." "That's more than enough to take legal action," he said, his tone firm. "First, we'll freeze Olivia's bank account. Then we'll move forward with fraud charges. I'll also notify the federal authorities since the crime involves international transactions. This won't just be a civil case, Luna. They could face criminal charges." I exhaled, finally feeling a sliver of control returning.
"Good.
"Do whatever it takes." "Understood," James said. "One more thing. I need you to stay calm.
Don't reach out to them.
Let them think they've won. The moment they suspect something, they might try to run or hide the money." I swallowed the anger bubbling inside me, forcing myself to nod even though he couldn't see me. "I won't do anything rash." After hanging up, I made my second call to the bank. Within minutes, Olivia's account was frozen. Whatever money she hadn't spent, yet was locked away, untouchable. It was small satisfaction, but I knew it was only the beginning. Then I waited. It wasn't easy. Every hour that passed felt like torture, knowing that they were still out there, enjoying my money, living a life they didn't earn. But I kept my promise. I stayed silent, watching from the shadows as my case against them built up like a storm waiting to break. 3 days later, James called me with an update. "The federal authorities are officially involved," he said. "They've issued an international arrest warrant. Italian police will be notified soon." I felt my stomach tighten. How soon is soon? "They could be arrested within the next 48 hours, James said. "We have enough evidence to ensure they won't get out of this easily." For the first time since this nightmare began, I allowed myself to smile. 2 days later, I received a call from an unfamiliar number. The moment I answered, I recognized the voice. "Luna," Olivia said, her voice sharp with panic. "What the hell did you do?" I leaned back in my chair, my tone flat. "Oh, I don't know, Olivia. Maybe you should tell me. I'm curious, how's Italy?" She ignored my sarcasm. "My bank account is frozen. I can't access my money." And she hesitated, her voice dropping. "There are police officers outside our hotel." I grinned. "Interesting. Sounds like a problem, Olivia." "You set us up," she shrieked. "You." I interrupted her. "I didn't set you up. You did this to yourself. You stole from me, Olivia. You thought you were clever, but you left a trail so obvious that even a child could have solved this case." She started to say something, but I cut her off again. "By the way, don't expect me to bail you out. You made your choice. Now live with it." Before she could reply, I hung up. It wasn't long before the real fun began. Just a few hours later, news broke. Olivia and my parents had been arrested in Italy. They were taken into custody at their luxury hotel, handcuffed in front of dozens of tourists and staff. Witnesses later described how Olivia screamed and tried to resist, how my mother burst into tears, and how my father, the ever-proud man, was left standing silent and humiliated. It was everything they deserved. I saw the news through social media first. People had recorded videos of the arrest, and the clips quickly spread. My sister, once so confident and smug, was now a pathetic mess, sobbing as police escorted her away. My parents looked just as pitiful, their entitled expressions wiped clean by sheer terror. They thought they were untouchable. They weren't. I watched those videos over and over again, each time feeling a little lighter, a little stronger. This was justice, not just for the money they stole, but for all the times they made me feel like I wasn't enough, like I owed them my success. Later that evening, my lawyer called again. "It's done," James said. "They're being processed as we speak. Italian authorities are working with U.S. officials to extradite them back home. Given the amount they stole, they're facing serious charges. Fraud, identity theft, and unauthorized financial transactions to start." I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. "And what's next?" James hesitated. "They might try to reach out to you. They'll beg, they'll apologize. But if I were you, Luna, I wouldn't listen." I chuckled. "Oh, I won't." Sure enough, that night, I received an unknown call. I let it go to voicemail, then listened. It was my mother. "Luna, sweetheart," she began, her voice trembling. We made a mistake. We never meant to hurt you. Please, you have to help us. We're your family. We're sorry, Luna. Please, don't let this happen to us." I deleted the message without a second thought. Then came another voicemail. Olivia, desperate and furious all at once. "You think you've won?" she hissed. "You think this is over? You're nothing without us, Luna. Nothing. You'll regret this." I laughed. Actually laughed. Because she was wrong. For the first time in my life, I was finally free. And they were the ones who would live with regret. The next morning, I woke up feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. For the first time in years, I didn't wake up with the weight of my family's demands pressing down on me. There were no guilt-tripping messages, no last-minute pleas for money, no passive-aggressive remarks about how I owed them everything.
No.
This time, they were the ones scrambling, and I was the one watching from a distance. I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat by the window, letting the warmth sink into my hands as I stared at the city skyline. I replayed Olivia's voicemail in my head, her voice switching from desperate to venomous in a matter of seconds. She was furious that I had done this to her, as if she hadn't done it to herself. They thought they could steal from me, humiliate me, and walk away untouched. They underestimated me. I checked my phone, scrolling through the latest updates from my lawyer. James had sent me a brief report. Olivia and my parents were still in custody, facing multiple charges: fraud, identity theft, and unauthorized financial transactions. It was all there in black and white. They wouldn't be getting out anytime soon. A part of me expected to feel guilty. This was my family, after all. But as I stared at their mugshots, all I felt was satisfaction. Olivia's face was contorted with anger, my mother looked like she had been crying, and my father, well, for once in his life, he had nothing to say. I went about my day like normal, checking in with my business, meeting with my team, and continuing to live my life without them. But in the back of my mind, I knew they weren't done trying. They would reach out again. They would try to manipulate me just like they always had. And I was right. Later that evening, my phone rang. This time, it was an international number. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, I had another message waiting. I sighed, pressing play. It was my mother again, her voice shaky. Luna, we've been in here for days. We can't stay in here, honey. It's awful. Olivia is losing her mind. Your father hasn't spoken in hours. Please, please, just drop the charges. We're your family. We made a mistake, but we didn't mean to hurt you. I stared at the phone, my expression blank. I had heard it all before. The pleas, the fake remorse. They weren't sorry for what they did. They were sorry they got caught. A few minutes later, another voicemail. This time, it was Olivia. You think you're so smart, don't you? She spat, her voice full of venom. You think you've won? You're pathetic, Luna. You're just a miserable, selfish B*TCH who's too greedy to help her own family. Enjoy your little victory while you can. Because one day you'll need us. And when that day comes, we won't be there. I laughed. As if I ever needed them. I didn't respond. I didn't call back. Instead, I forwarded both voicemails to James. They're getting desperate, he said when he called me later. Which is a good thing. It means they know they're out of options. What happens next? I asked. The charges are moving forward, he explained. They'll be extradited back to the US soon. Olivia's bank account is still frozen, and the money will be returned to you. But they're facing serious legal consequences. If convicted, they could be looking at several years in prison. I exhaled, feeling the tension in my body slowly unwind. Good. They might try to negotiate, James warned. Their lawyers could offer a plea deal in exchange for a reduced sentence. It's up to you if you want to accept it. I thought about it for a moment. A plea deal would mean less time behind bars for them, but it would also mean they admitted to their crimes. I want them to pay, I said finally. But I don't want this dragging on for years. If a plea deal guarantees they face consequences, I'll consider it. James agreed to handle it. And so I waited. A few days later, the call came. They've agreed to a deal, James said. Olivia and your parents will avoid prison, but they'll have to pay back every cent they stole. On top of that, Olivia will have a criminal record, and your parents' assets will be seized to help repay the debt. I smiled. It was perfect. My family had spent their entire lives using me as their personal bank. Now, they would spend the rest of their lives struggling to pay me back. It was poetic justice. That night, I received one final voicemail. It was my father this time, his voice heavy and tired.
Luna, he said.
We lost everything. Your mother is devastated. Olivia, I don't even recognize her anymore. This isn't what we wanted. I listened, waiting for him to say what I already knew was coming. We were wrong, he admitted. We should have never taken from you. But you have to understand, we thought you would always be there for us. We thought family meant something. I closed my eyes, shaking my head. Family did mean something. But not this. Not betrayal. Not greed. Not entitlement. I deleted the message. I had nothing left to say to them. In the days that followed, I found myself thinking about my family less and less. The rage, the betrayal, the pain, it was all fading into the background, replaced by something far stronger.
Peace.
Relief. Freedom. For years, I had convinced myself that I needed them. That no matter how much they used me, manipulated me, or made me feel like I was never enough, I had to hold on. Because they were my family. Because that's what family does. But family doesn't steal from you. They don't lie. They don't treat you like an ATM. And they don't celebrate your downfall when you finally say enough. I was done with them. I spent the next few weeks rebuilding my life on my own terms. I redecorated my apartment, changing everything that reminded me of them. I took a vacation, a real one, not stolen, not filled with guilt. I worked on my business with more energy than I had in years, focusing on me for the first time in a long time. Meanwhile, Olivia and my parents were struggling. The plea deal had forced them into a new reality, one where they had to pay back every cent they stole. Olivia had lost her fancy apartment, my parents' retirement funds were drained, and whatever luxury they had once enjoyed was gone. Occasionally, I would hear updates through mutual acquaintances. Olivia had tried to find a job, but with a criminal record, no company wanted to take a risk on her. My mother had been completely humiliated within her social circle, no longer able to brag about her successful daughters when everyone knew she had stolen from one. My father, always so proud, had withdrawn completely, his ego shattered beyond repair. They had built their lives on my success. Now that I was gone, they had nothing. I never answered their calls again. I never responded to their texts. Even when they tried to send messages through friends, "Luna, they're struggling. Maybe you should let it go." I refused to entertain it. Let it go? After what they did?
No.
They had made their choices. Now they had to live with them. A month later, my lawyer, James, called with a final update. "They've started making payments," he said, amusement in his voice. "It's slow, but it's happening. They'll be repaying you for years at this rate." I smirked. "Good. I doubt they'll ever recover fully," James added. "They relied on you too much, and without your money, their lifestyle collapsed. But you came out of this stronger, Luna. Not a lot of people could have handled this the way you did." I smiled, leaning back in my chair. I guess I just finally realized my own worth. The truth was, I didn't need revenge anymore. That part of me, the part that wanted to see them suffer, had disappeared. Not because I forgave them, not because I felt sorry for them, but because they didn't matter anymore. They were nothing more than a closed chapter in my life. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine and stepped out onto my balcony, looking over the city. The air felt lighter. The silence felt calm, not lonely. For the first time in years, I belonged to myself. No more guilt. No more obligation. No more being used. Just me. And that was enough. I raised my glass to the night sky, whispering a final goodbye to the past. Then, I turned and walked back inside, ready for whatever came next. The end.